Hello everyone and welcome. So there are a couple of things common between me and this EV. First, we both don't like coal. Second, we both need energy in the form of food for me and electricity for this car. But the difference between me and this car is that I don't have a lot of power, but this thing has 402 horsepower. So in today's video we are reviewing the 2025 Volvo EC40. So the new EC40 is offered in 3 different variants and one special edition. So it's Core, then Plus and Ultra, and all of them are given in an option of rear wheel drive and an all wheel drive. So there is either one motor or 2 motors, and there's a special Black Edition, and the particular variant that I'm reviewing is the EC40 Black Edition, and it is quite obvious that everything is blacked out on this one, and this thing comes as standard with the all-wheel drive, and there is no rear wheel drive offered as an option. So on this there is this full blacked out covered grille here instead of the open one, and even the badging here of Volvo is just in chrome written, but otherwise it's completely in black. There's just a slit that opens up to allow some amount of air to cool down the radiator because it's used for cooling the batteries. There's another opening at the bottom, and then that's all in like normal plastics. There are also these fog lights, and they also act as the cornering lights. Again, around them also there is glossy black plastic. When we come to these headlights, so these are full set of LED headlights. There are also DRLs, and the headlights are the adaptive headlights, so they move around with the steering input slightly. That's about it. There's also a slight bit of animation when you start the car, and these DRLs are in the hammer shape. So these are the LED DRLs. They also convert into the turn signal also. And if you think that this car looks slightly similar to EX40, then you are not wrong, because this car is kind of based on the exact same car, just that there's a bit of change in the form factor, whereas the EX is more of an SUV body style, but EC is more of like a crossover, so it sits slightly on the lower side. And because this is an EV, so there is a frunk instead of an engine in the front, so that's also utilized. And in order to open this frunk, we go in the front, just like how we open the normal hood. That's how we open it. There is a lever. With the gloves it becomes a little more difficult to operate things because it is super cold today. Like, it's 0 right now, and it snowed also yesterday. So yes, there is a cover in the front, and when you open this one, there is about 31 liters of storage in the front too. You remove this carpet, and then there is a tire repair kit along with a compressor. So the space has been utilized also in the front too. And then close it. There's also a camera given out here, which is used for all the safety systems and the lane keep assist and the adaptive cruise control that is provided on this EC40. Well, when you look at the EC40 from the side profile, you would notice that there are some changes between the EX40 and the EC40, and that is majorly to do with the rear, because it's more of a coupe shape in the back, and which is why I said it's more of a crossover SUV, but it looks more on the side of like a coupe in the back. And out here you get 20 inches of alloy wheels, and they are all blacked out, and there is also the regenerative energy system provided on the inside. Also, there are these plastic arches so that you don't damage your fender. There is also more plastic skirtings at the bottom too. The car's slightly dirty because, yes, obviously, as I said, there was a lot of snow, and there's going to be further snow today and tomorrow also, so I just made sure I make the review before that snowfall comes in. There is also more plastic arches provided in the rear too, and then this body style in the back, so it sort of tapers in the back, and there's slight amount of reduction in the headroom in the rear also. And then we come to the charging system out here. So this thing is equipped with a CCS charger, which is a combined charging system, which is AC and DC. But in order to start with the charging, so this thing also comes with the portable charger itself on board, but that's a little slower, like a lot slower that way than to charge it outside. So when we charge this car on DC 50 kilowatt, it takes 68 minutes, and when this car is charged at 200 kilowatts, yes, this thing can be charged at 200 kilowatt also, then it can charge in 28 minutes, whereas if you charge it in AC power with the single phase 6 amperes, then it takes 76 hours, whereas if you charge it with 48 amperes, it takes about 8 hours. So that's the charging timings. And then if you use the onboard charger, so even that, when it is connected to a 120 volt outlet, it pumps about 1.12 kilowatts, and that will take forever. And then if you connect this to a 240 volt outlet, then it takes 9.44 kilowatt the output is, and then yeah, that might be slightly faster. And in terms of the battery capacity, so this EC40 comes with 82 kilowatt hour battery that sits at the bottom, but the usable one is 79 kilowatt hour, and that is to do with the fact to preserve the life of the battery. But then in colder days like today and throughout the winter months, the range is actually quite less on the EVs comparatively, and it even shows you the message on the screen that the range is going to be affected, and even the charging is affected too, because it takes a little extra energy to put the charging into the batteries, because the batteries are not really liking the charge that comes very quickly when they are cold. So the car also needs time to be warmed up so that it can easily accept the charge, but otherwise yes, there's a lot of extra charge that goes inside. And also in terms of the discharge, so it also gets affected with what systems you use inside the car. So if you switch on the AC or the heater, so the temperature variation, just switching on the heater consumes about 50 to 60 kilometers of range, and then if you increase the temperature, every couple of degrees reduces the range by 10 kilometers. So there's a lot of calculations that unfortunately you have to do when you drive an EV. When we come to these side mirrors, these are again blacked out side mirrors. They are power foldable, power adjustable. They also have the blind spot warning on the inside. There is also a turn light given on the edge, and one of the cameras from the 360-degree camera system. And all 4 doors are keyless entry doors. There is also an EC40 badging on the door sills only in the front, but again, even on the sides, everything is completely blacked out. Now the rear end is where the EC40 and the EX40 differ, because the EC40 is quite busy in terms of its design in the rear. The first one being these 2 bubbles that are provided on either side, I'm sure to do with the aerodynamic design purposes. And there is also this spoiler, there is a gap in there too, and then these tail lights that extend till the top of this door in the back. And these tail lights are again the L-shaped tail lights. They are completely LED tail light cluster, turn signals, reverse lights, brake lights, everything is completely in LED. There are also these reflector strips inside which there are also the fog lights given. And then this bumper, which is again in normal plastic, just glossy at the bottom, again much more easier to replace if you sort of damage this bumper. And it's also slightly tapering on either side also. And this thing comes with the winter tires right now, because it's obviously winter and things get slippery and slidey on the roads when it snows. Now because this is a black edition, so all the badges, the EC40 Volvo badging, all are in black. There's also a brake light given in the center too, mounted on the higher side. In terms of the visibility, it's actually like a letterbox. It's exactly like a letterbox, because it's just like a slit that just shows you like there is a car behind you. That's about it, because it's the rear glass is actually quite narrow and it's also very sloping. So there is just about this much of visibility from the rear. Now in order to open the trunk door, you can either press the button, or there is a convenience feature, so you slide your leg and then open the door. So if there are like a lot of shopping bags in your hand, it's just much more convenient. There are scuff plates given in the back, metal ones, and there is no step or anything, so it's just going to be easier to put your luggage in and out in the trunk of this EC40. Now when the rear seats are folded up, you can put 404 liters of luggage in the back, and as I said, it's completely flat, and it also comes with this cover which you can lift up, and it reveals another storage at the bottom where there is the charging cable provided for this car, which can even put it in the front and utilize this space at the bottom. But it also reveals these hooks where you can tie the shopping bags. It's also got the logo on that to show you that you can tie them up, and also this is a neat way to organize your luggage, something you can put in the back and also on the front side of it. And there is also a trunk separator also that can be removed, but that consumes space because you have to put it down here. There are also tying hooks given all around, and also on the sides there is also a trunk light given in the trunk door, and also there is another trunk light given on either side. And in order to remove this separator trunk, give it a knock, remove it, and as I said, it sits right here, or you can just leave it in your parking lot. So let me do that. Let me just remove it. So without trunk separator, yes, it's quite big enough that ways to put like two proper medium sized bag or one big bag and a small bag, like lots of arrangement. Now the rear seats are foldable in a ratio of 60:40, but there is also a small door in the middle seat that you can open and get access to the trunk space from the rear seat. So in order to fold down the rear seats, straight away levers are provided, and these headrests are the foldable headrests electronically, so they fold down once you press that lever, and once you fold them down, there is a lot of trunk space now in the back, and the trunk floor itself is quite flat. But even if you want to fold down the rear headrest from inside, there is that option provided in the infotainment screen. So you go into the controls, and then there is an option for headrest fold. So you press that fold button on screen, and then these electronically fold down, but there is no way to lift them up electronically. So yeah, that's only one time option that you can do. But anyways, the visibility is not that great, so nothing's gonna help even if you fold down the headrest. Now in order to close the trunk door, again you can slide the legs and then close this. So the inside of the EC40 Black Edition is completely blacked out. Just a few bits like these air conditioning vents, the steering wheel logo around there are these chrome bits on the door handles, but otherwise it's completely blacked out. So the exterior was like quite stealthy, so even the interior complements with that look. And in terms of the material quality, it's soft touch material on the top of the dashboard throughout. Even on the door cards, the top side is soft touch material. On the sides there is just some amount of plastic, but good quality of plastic. When you're going to be resting hands, that's black color leather, the Napa leather that's been given. The steering wheel has leather. On the sides of this center tunnel there is this carpet lining. Even on the door cards there is the carpet lining on top face of this center tunnel where the gear shifter is, with this sort of cutout given there. So that's also in glossy plastic. The handrest is leather covered with the white color stitching there. There's also the Harman Kardon sound system provided on this EC40, and there are also these plastic inserts given in the door card. So in the EX40 there were like mood lights, but these plastic pieces are illuminated ones, so they are like illuminated from the back. So at night when you look at them, there is no light falling down, but instead it's completely illuminated from the back. So yeah, that's the difference. And if you look at the interior even of this EC40 and the EX40, again that's exactly identical. There is literally no difference until you look in the rear view mirror and then realize, yeah, that small rear view glass. So that's the only difference that you would notice in the front when you are going to be driving this EC40. Now when we come to the driver's display, so there is a 12.3 inch digital driver's display, and in terms of the information. So on the left side there is digital speedometer, and on the right side the power charge and the gear you are in. At the bottom, range and the consumption of the charge. That's about it. It's that simple, and not much that you can change in terms of the appearance. Just that if you want to switch on the middle blank area into like the maps, then you press the button on the right side on the steering wheel and you can switch on those Google Maps, because this system comes with Google's Android operating system. So switch it on and off, that's about it. And you can reset the trip computer again using the buttons given on the right side. So yeah, that's about it. Straightforward digital drivers display, very crisp and clear, and I like the simplicity of it. Now when we come to this steering wheel, this is a leather covered steering wheel with the Volvo badging in chrome. Again, that's not blacked out, I'm surprised. So yeah, that's in the middle, and buttons given on either side. No paddle shifters, because there is one pedal drive though that you can adjust from the infotainment screen, but there are no paddles to adjust how much you can do, because there's just extra bit of calculation. Just leave it either in on, auto or off. That's about it. So there are buttons provided on the right side to change the information on the driver's display and also the media controls, whereas on the left side there are buttons given for the adaptive cruise control and to change all the settings related to that. There's also Pro Pilot Assist given on this EC40 and this steering wheel is manually adjustable, tilt and telescopic. Now when we come to the air conditioning control, so the air conditioning control sits at the bottom of the infotainment screen itself. So there are no physical buttons or anything, so everything is operated from inside. That's just the only thing that I have about this thing. Otherwise it's very simple to operate this car. So in order to change the air conditioning, you press the information in the center given at the bottom, and then inside you can change the temperature on either side. So you get dual zone air conditioning system. You press this link button in the middle and then sync the temperature. Then on top there is the fan speed that you can adjust, and then the flow of air, and on top of that the AC recirculation and everything, and can even go into the parking and see the preconditioning, the air purifications and all those timers and all of that you can set. And yeah, that's about it. That's how you operate the air conditioning. And on either sides there are also on screen buttons provided. So on the left side there are dual functions, so it's for the heated steering wheel on the top and the heated seat for the driver side, and on the other side the heated seat for the passenger. But the thing is, again, there is another layer of options to switch on the heated steering. So yeah, while driving it can become a bit cumbersome. Otherwise, if there was one option out here on the right side, there's one blank option, they can just put that option there too. That would have made life slightly easier. Now when we come to the infotainment screen, so this infotainment screen is a 9-inch vertical mounted display, and I like the size of it, as I've said, because it's just about right. It's not in your face and it's just very easy to operate. At first you may think, because these days you are used to seeing so many bigger screens, but once you look at this screen, it after a while it feels like, yes, this is the right size. And this thing comes with Google's Android operating system, and not just that, it also comes with inbuilt internet connection. So there's a data package provided, though there's no extra charge or anything for it. It comes provided with the car itself, which makes life a lot more easier. So on the main screen there are like big broad options, 4 of them, and then the options keep changing based on the interactions you do with different icons inside. So the top maps can also show you YouTube and different options, then the media option, then connect your phone and play the news. So that's the main screen, and then you go inside into the menu. Then there is the range assistance, where you can do range optimization, and also it shows you the energy uses and the consumption. Then the car status, tire pressure monitoring system, everything, air quality, what's the quality on the inside and outside. Then the maps, inbuilt maps, because this comes with Android's operating system, so there are inbuilt Google Maps given on this, so that again makes life easier with the data connection. So you don't have to worry about plugging your phone and then using Android Auto, and straightforward, it's Google Maps, so you're used to using them. And another important thing that they've added is including the chargers inside this Google Map itself, so you can easily find all the chargers around the car from your itself. Then there is the messages, the YouTube. So when this car is charging, to kill your time, there is the YouTube on board. So with the data connection, you can search anything and then watch the videos on the inside without stepping out. Then there's driving journal, Bluetooth media player, Sirius XM, radio and Spotify, then the phone and Apple CarPlay, which is wireless. So there's only Apple CarPlay which is provided on this. Owner's manual, then the Play Store to download apps onto this system, then the Google Assistant, and that's about it. So that's what is all the menu options provided on this, and then the detailed settings are provided on the right side. You press that button and then you go into the driving, where there are different driving modes. So there is a standard mode and there is the off-road mode. Again, that's also on the inside of this infotainment screen. So off-road for low speed and increasing the traction. Then, as I said, Pro Pilot Assist, Safety Assistant, Driving Dynamics, one pedal drive. You can leave it on, auto or off, and also the steering feel firm or light. So that option is given on the inside. Then the charging, you can set the limits, how much you want this car to charge up to. 90% is recommended. Then the sound optimization, so this comes with Harman Kardon surround sound system. Sounds very good, and actually the sounds, when there is a true surround sound, it actually travels around. Then there are controls, so you can fold down the headrest and all those things, locking, then the display, then the lights, switch on or off all the mood lights. And here's an interesting option, the power of vehicle. So it's all inside here, instead of putting a button here where they've put a plastic piece and then remove that button and put it into the infotainment screen. So unnecessary complications. So yeah, that's inside. And then there is profiles, where you can connect the Volvo Cars app and then control the different features on this car, like heat the car, cool the car, lock the car, unlock the car, charge the car, all of that, or disconnect the charger. So all that can be controlled using the Volvo Car app and get information. Then there is the privacy, Google, and the systems, date, time, units, and everything. And then we come back into the main menu, and then there's a button given at the bottom, so you press that and you come into the main menu at any point of time. There's also another button on screen one provided for the 360-degree camera system, but again, the camera rear one, or even on this, and the same was for EX40, is mounted a little offset. So I've been having a little trouble understanding how exactly to park in the center of the box when I look at it. And also it's mounted a little on the lower side, so it misses the top angle slightly. Yeah, that's the only thing. And then there is the 360-degree, then you can use that and then optimize your parking skills. In that sense, there are also buttons given at the bottom too, for the volume and the track changer, and also the emergency parking button, and also the front and the rear glass heaters. So all those are provided here too. Now in terms of the charging, so there are two USB ports, Type C, and one 12-volt 120-watt power socket given underneath the infotainment screen, and also a wireless charger provided for the front. And for the rear passengers, there are two Type C USB ports. Now on this EC40, there is an SOS button for emergency purposes, and there is also a fixed panoramic sunroof. So it does not have any cover, but the fixed glass on the top, and that glass is also tinted, so that's one good thing during the summer. But yeah, it does get quite a lot colder. So during the winters, yes, that glass can become quite cold. And in terms of the storage, so there are lots of smaller storages and smart storages given on the inside of this EC40. So in the door cards, you can easily put 1.5 liter water bottles, some more storage on the side. There's this wireless charger that you can utilize, two flexible cup holders. There is also this garbage bin, small one provided. You can put all your stuff in there, and then once it's full, remove it, empty that and put it back. Then there is also the center armrest, in which you can put like your phones and wallets. There is also this glove box where there is this tying hook to tie your shopping bags and stuff, which is maximum of 2 kgs. Even on the passenger side, same amount of storage. So in the front, there is quite a lot of storage. There's also one more slot given on the driver side in this center tunnel on the side to put your phones, and there is also this clip provided to put your parking tickets. There's another cover slot in front of the wireless charger to put your phones. Now when we come to these seats on this EC40, there are these dual fabric seats provided. So on the sides there is the Napa leather, black color, and in the middle there is the suede material, but completely in black. But I like the fact that the middle bit is in suede because it does not get cold or hot, and especially during winters I've realized that, compared to the EX40 where there were leather seats. So yeah, those were very cold during winters, which is right now. So these don't do that, and I'm glad about that. And these seats are actually more comfortable than the EX40 also, primarily to do with the fact that there is the suede materials. The headrest, yeah, that's a bit thin, but it's on the harder side. But otherwise these seats do offer good amount of comfort on the inside compared to the EX40, which had the leather seats. So yeah, make sure you go for the suede material seats, the Black Edition that offers that. There's also a Swedish flag provided on the passenger side seat, and in terms of the side support, there is good amount of that. They are slightly on the sportier side also, these seats. And the bottom, again, that has good support underneath my thigh, but there is also a manually extendable support. So yeah, that makes things a lot more comfortable in terms of using these seats for longer journeys. Now in terms of the adjustability, so the driver side seat is 8-way electronically adjustable and 4-way lumbar adjustment, whereas the passenger side seat is again the same, 8-way electronically adjustable and 4-way lumbar adjustment. Now things in the rear are quite spacious for a small crossover SUV, and especially EV, because usually the floor is quite raised up and that reduces the comfort levels and also the space in the back. But on this it's not affected that much at all, and there is like half palm worth of knee room here, and the seat is in my driving position, and after that there is this much of space. The headroom, yes, that has taken a bit of a hit because of the way this thing is shaped like a coupe and it's sloping downwards. So my head is nearly touching the ceiling. Someone about 6 feet will start touching their heads against the ceiling. There is a bit of extra cutouts provided to increase the head space, but in terms of the seating position, I think I'm comfortable into these seats. Again, they are the same dual material, Napa leather and the suede material seats. In terms of the comfort, they are exactly like the ones in the front, and they offer a lot of comfort too, just that like they are slightly on the lower side, and if you make out, like there is a bit of a under thigh support that is missing, and there is no extension here for the rear passenger. So yeah, that's the only thing, but you can extend your legs slightly under the front seats, so during longer journeys that can make things slightly easier too. There is a big tunnel that goes in the center, and I'm guessing because it's based on the standard C40, which is why, because that also is offered in the all-wheel drive, so which is why there is that tunnel. And also there is the middle seat, but that middle seat is covered in leather, so yeah, it's gonna get a little cold. So the middle seat is actually on the harder side, and so is the backrest. The bottom and the backrest both are like on the harder side, and that is to do with the fact that there is also a handrest with 2 or actually 3 cup holders, flexible ones with this rubbery sort of extension. And the middle seat is more of a temporary arrangement. Overall, on either side, the passengers are going to be really comfortable. There are also 3 headrests. One is the collapsible one, and then these 2 on either side are the electronically foldable ones. And in terms of the door card quality, again, soft touch material, but there is no illuminated panel here, so it's just like normal meshed plastic where are going to be resting hands. That's leather covered. On the side face there is the carpet lining, and in the rear door cards also you can put 1.5 liter worth of bottle. There are also pocket storages, netted one provided on the driver and the front passenger seats. There are also 2 air conditioning vents given in the back too, so the rear passengers can remain hot or cold during winters and summers. Not just that, the seats on either side are also the heated seats, so there are buttons provided at the bottom of those air conditioning vents too. So overall the space is actually much more of a comfortable space, especially compared to the EX40, because those were leather seats. They were on the harder side slightly. But if you want to watch the review of that EX40, you can click on the pop-up banner out here and can watch that detailed review video of that car too. And even in terms of the visibility in the rear, because of this extra bit of glass provided in the back, that extends the visibility and makes it a lot more, broader view. But it's just that it's narrow compared to the EX40. So this 2025 EC40 is powered by two electric motors. That's how it gets the all-wheel drive, one in the front and one in the back, and combined they produce 402 horsepower and 494 pound-feet of torque, and there is no gearbox, so the power goes straight to the wheels. Now in terms of the response, I'm afraid to use 402 horsepower right now because the road conditions are going to be slippery. It snowed a little while ago slightly, plus 494 horsepower is still, I'm still going to give it a go. Oh, it just pushes you into the seats, and that's the wonderful thing about an EV. The thrilling experience that you get while accelerating is just, it's something else. It just makes your heart beat fast, like really fast. And the thing is, yes, that's the thing about EVs. It gives you that instant power and torque, and that is just, there's nothing differentiating between the different EVs. That's the thing, because everyone just nearly responds identical in terms of how it puts down all the power. So in terms of the overall combination, it is fast. Now in terms of the efficiency, so from this on longer journeys, I've managed to get around 20 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, which is probably to do with the fact because it is cold also, so the efficiency has reduced slightly. Otherwise it can deliver around 18.5 to 19, and inside the city I've managed to get around 23 to 25 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. Again, that's also expected, and with all these auxiliary things operating on the inside, like the heater and the seats and everything, then that also consumes a lot of power. But that's the realistic value. In terms of the range, so the claimed range is 431 kilometers, but when I picked it up at 95%, this car, it showed about 365 to 370 kilometers, and then it again gets affected because of the cold and so many conditions, and it has affected the range also slightly because of the cold weather. So again, lots of factors that affect that, but roughly you can expect it to be around 300 to 325 kilometers on a full charge. Now when we come to the suspensions, they are on a decently soft, balanced side, plus this car has the winter tires, so they are on the softer side, so they add a little bit of extra cushion also, which was lacking in the EX40 because that car had a very harder setup. But surprisingly on this, it does not feel like that it's got a harder setup. First the tires, and also the suspensions do feel slightly calibrated to give you a comfortable ride. So on the suspension fronts, I'm really liking it, and also there's not much of a roll because the CG sits quite low down because of these batteries being at the floor. Now when we come to the steering, I've kept the steering on the firm settings and not on the lighter side, because the light is just very light and I don't like that because it does not give you any amount of feedback or anything. It's like using a gaming wheel. But this, with the former, the steering is good enough to be used every day. It's got like decent amount of turning radius also, so the steering is again quite all right, and you can fairly judge the car from the steering, how it responds to the inputs. Now when we come to the brakes, there are 4-disc brakes on this, and in terms of the braking performance, it's actually pretty good. And in terms of the regeneration also, again, that's also gradual on this EC40, because on the EX40 the regeneration was a bit abrupt because you're thrown back into the seat every single time. But on this, it's very, very gentle and gradual, so you can really use one pedal quite easily. But even the brake pedal itself, that's also quite well calibrated, and it's also quite progressive. Now When we come to the noise and the vibrations, there is a bit of tire noise. I will say that. There is also a bit of wind whooshing from around these windows, and there is also the motor whining, but again not too much, but there is that motor whining that you will hear. And again, because the electric cars are always quiet, so every sound from outside is like amplified, so that's something to keep in mind. What a beautiful sunset right now that is currently going on. It's become all orange, and yeah, not to get distracted, but let's continue with the review. And in terms of the build quality, it's just very good right now. The Swedish quality, everything fit and finish is just well put together. Now when we come to the safety systems, so there are 9 airbags, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags again for the driver and the passenger. There are also 6 curtain airbags given in the frames, and there is also 1 driver's knee airbag. There are also child ISOFIX points in both the rear seats. There's also a 360-degree camera system, just that the angle needs to be adjusted a little bit, and yeah, also that offset bit. And the clarity is very good. Even at night you can see very good details from that 360-degree camera system. Then there is ABS, there is also the front and the rear collision warnings, the pedestrian warnings. Then there is also the Pro Pilot Assist, the blind spot warning, adaptive cruise control, and yeah, various safety systems like the, as I said, the rear and the front warnings whenever there is. So yeah, in terms of the Volvo sense, it's like pretty airtight in terms of the safety systems. Now when we come to the pricing, so the core variant, which is the base one, starts from $63,300, which is just the rear wheel drive, at $3,550 for the all wheel drive with 2 motors and extended range. Whereas the plus variant, you have to add another $8,000, and if you go for the ultra, then which is $12,500, not to forget $3,550 for the all wheel drive. And this black edition starts from $76,000, whereas with all the taxes and everything, sorry, there is a bit of a sun coming on my face, but yeah, I guess the sun visor does not make any difference. So with the taxes and everything, it comes to nearly $79,500. Now the thing is that with the EVs, I'm just still figuring out how to live along with the EVs, because the charging is a constant worry. You have to plan a lot of trips, and then yes, there is like now with the maps inbuilt systems where you can just figure out where the chargers are, but there is like that planning that is involved for everyday usage, and which is why I'm still on the fence about the EVs. And to spend $79,500, yeah, that's quite a lot. I think the core variant is something with the rear wheel drive that's much more apt, but if you want something like with a lot of traction, then core with the all wheel drive is something that you can opt for, because I like the styling of this car. I really like the blacked out version of this thing, because it's very stealthy, but yeah, that comes at a price too. Plus it's an EV, and as I said, there is a lot of variations in terms of its usability and the experience. So which is why I keep repeating that if you have your own charging infrastructure, then EVs are something that is really good, because in terms of the response, they are nothing like anything. Yeah, instant power and torque, and you're doing like 3-digit speeds very, very quickly. So yeah, they are thrilling for sure in terms of the driving experience also, and this thing is just very comfortable on the inside, and it looks good, and it is practical. It does not reduce any space, even though this is an EV with a battery and motor. So still, it's worth giving it a try. If you want an EV, then yes, start off with the core and then see. But if your budget lets you spend lavishly, then yes, this black edition is for you. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you've liked it. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care, and drive safe.